Right now, I'm joined by two Fox NBA analysts, Slick Rick the Bucher and Jimmy Jackson. Guys, let's start off with the NBA, where the league is trying to finalize its plans to relaunch this season in Orlando at the end of July, but they just ran into a major obstacle, Kyrie Irving. On a conference call among players, the All-Star says he's not in favor of the NBA's relaunch plan because he's, quote, not with the systematic racism and BS, and that he's willing to give up everything he has for social reform. Apparently, he's not alone. Lakers center Dwight Howard agreed with Kyrie, explaining, quote, basketball or entertainment period isn't needed at this moment and will only be a distraction. I would love nothing more than to win my very first NBA championship, but the unity of my people will be an even bigger championship. That's just too beautiful to pass up. What better time than now for us to be focusing on our families? No basketball till we get things resolved. Jim, do these guys have a point?
Yeah, they have a point. And there's a couple of things I think we need to unpack here to kind of get the full breadth of what's going on. On June 5th, I think it was, is when the union voted on and passed what we see now as the season moving forward. Kyrie Irving was a part of that, being the vice president. I don't know whether he voiced his opinions at the time of the vote when that was taking place or leading up to this point. I don't really know that, but we do know that he did vote for the season to move forward. Now, that doesn't mean he can't change his mind a little bit later, okay? Now, that's one thing. The message and what they're talking about is true, that right now there is this momentum going on in this country, especially with our youth, in regards to social justice. And they want to be in the forefront, which meaning basketball players, minority basketball players, to help usher that in, to continue the momentum. I get that. And there's no better platform to do that than having young men like a Kyrie or a Dwight Howard, LeBron James, who have the national attention and the world attention to be able to push that narrative. So I agree with the point in regards to pushing that forward. The third part of this, and Rick, I think you said this earlier, is not so much the message, it's the messenger, who it's coming from, and that's Kyrie. Because in the past, Kyrie has said some things, done some things that a lot of people didn't agree with, okay? He left Boston a little bit contentious. Players like to play with him, some don't. So it's the messenger that I think kind of gets in the way of the message at times. If this was maybe LeBron James saying this, it'd be like a no-brainer, okay? But because it's Kyrie, you're going to question a little bit of that because of his history, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I think using basketball, because the NBA has been so progressive, so out front on social issues, that if you move the ball forward, so to speak, and play this season, you're able to utilize that platform in a way that you can reach out and touch not only here in the United States, but internationally, the message that you want to get across, be it commercials, be it interviews, before, after games. The spotlight will be on you. So guess what? You can use that platform in a bigger space, a bigger scope. So that's why I'm in favor of guys playing, particularly right now, because they right now have the ear of the country, of the nation, of our leaders. Each and every time they step on the court, each and every time they're at practice, when they're seen, they're able to push that narrative. But that's just my opinion.
Jim Jackson, I would rather have you as the spokesman for this cause right now than Kyrie Irving, because you just stated exactly what your point is. That's what I struggle with Kyrie and Dwight, is that I don't know exactly what point they're trying to make. Are they suggesting, as Kyrie alluded to, that the NBA is racist? It's systematic oppression of black men? Is it Dwight Howard, where this is the wrong time for us to be taking time to play, and we should really be continuing to shelter in place with our families and develop the family unit? What is it that not playing at this time will accomplish? And I'm with you. The sad reality is, and pretty much every athlete knows this, you have the greatest platform when you are playing. The second you take that uniform off, there's the rare Jim Jackson, Marcellus Wiley, Pat McAfee, guys who move into the media and create a presence, but those are the exception rather than the rule. And so it's twofold here. These are the Kyrie and Dwight Howard, may be good guys. They may be thoughtful, well-spoken, well-intended. They are not the guys that I want leading this charge. And I thought about it, like, who would I want? Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Victor Oladipo, Mike Conley, guys who I look at and say, I don't question their credibility. I don't question their stance. They have been consistent. They may not be as big names. Maybe some of them don't make as much money, whatever it might be, but they have a authenticity there that I do not question that's going to get me to lean in. And this is why I'm so passionate about this, because the purpose is, without question, necessary. We need social change. We need to take this seriously, and we need to get everybody to take it seriously. And that's why who the messenger is and how on point they are with delivering exactly what it is that they want and what they want to see change is vital. I hate to draw the parallel to Colin Kaepernick, but I was always in on. I knew what his cause was. I knew what he intended, and I was all in on it. But he lost me because his message was confused, and I began to question, all right, what is he really after, and does he have a plan on how to go about it? And if you don't have a plan and you lose that thread, then you actually undermine the cause that you're trying to support and achieve. And I feel as if Kyrie and Dwight, in this confusion about, is it about because of the bubble? Is it because Kyrie's not allowed to go with the team now? Is it what happened in Boston? What happened in Cleveland? It's just, I need the right guy leading this charge to make sure that it actually happens. And I just don't see Kyrie being that guy or the point that he's ultimately trying to make in this instance.
Look, I chase the truth. No matter where it comes from, no matter the complexion, no matter the individual, no matter their resume, if it's the truth, I think that could stand alone on itself. So I don't diminish what's coming from them because of who they are. But I will diminish what they're saying because I think they have a point, but it's pointed in the wrong direction. Let's just be real about this, guys. We know that this is coming from a good place. We know that the source of this frustration and trying to make an impact is coming from a good place, but either they're not being fully genuine in terms of what they want out of this so-called protest, or they're not being knowledgeable about what their efforts would achieve in such protests. One of them is deeply suffering, and let's talk about that. To say that you're tired of the BS of systemic racism, and you're going to sit out abbreviated NBA season, to what avail will that change systemic racism when this has been around before you were born, Dwight Howard, Kyrie was born, I was born. So many people have not only been in this fight for decades, but they've also predicted the thing we don't want to talk about the most that Dwight Howard actually discusses, which is the black family unit and how that has been broken down over time as predicted in the Moynihan report back in 1965, saying, hey, we can keep talking about liberty, equality, justice for all, but if we don't fix the fabric, the core of the black unit and the black family that's been disrupted for generations, we will not only be in this same place, but worse off. And if you look at a lot of numbers that suggest that we are actually in a worse position in terms of our growth relative to the growth of this country. Whew, these guys, I love them, man. You brought up Colin Kaepernick, and it's crazy because there's a parallel. Kyrie is going to sit out a season that he's not even going to play in and get paid for it. In terms of level of sacrifice, I don't think that's too deep. Colin Kaepernick, at the height of his powers, was not talking about social justice and reform. He waited till he was a backup, and then that came out. So when we're trying to leverage our platforms, You guys didn't wake up yesterday and understand what leverage means. Leverage it when you have the most opportunity, which means either A, do it at the height of your powers, Colin Kaepernick, or B, do it using the NBA as your platform, Kyrie Irving, so that your message is greater served and heard louder. I just don't understand exactly where they're pointing, even though I know that they have a point.
That's a lot right there. My whole thing is this. Dwight Howard and Kyrie Irving, got respect for him. My thing is, if you're going to push the message, push the narrative, you have to be on point and concise with what you're doing and what you're saying. Because you don't want anything to get lost in the shuffle where you're undermining what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say. Because I totally agree in regards to the social justice and keeping the eye on the prize, so to speak, as far as the nation, the momentum that's going on, and they want to be at the forefront of. That's fine. Do it. Make sure that message that you're trying to get across, along with those other 80 guys that are kind of in the same boat, that feel the same way, that's one voice. Because you can agree to disagree in regards to whether you come back. One thing we can all agree on is why we're doing it. What is the cause for? What does it bring about? What kind of change? That's what we can all agree on. How that message gets across is very important too, and who delivers that message is very important. And that's my biggest thing, okay? That we're gonna have some kind of, disagreements on how we get to a point, but let's get there, okay? And I just truly believe that with having the season, that platform allows guys to really hit home points that they need to hit, and also reach out and touch some people that otherwise we would not be able to.
Yeah, as the white guy in this conversation, let me speak on how it is, because I believe that in order for us to solve this, it can't just be black athletes, black people, the black community trying to solve it. We all have to come together to change this. So what is it that white people don't understand about this? What specifically needs to happen and change, whether it's with the NBA or the world at large, in order to change the structure as it is now? That, I believe, for those of us who care and believe that something needs to change, we'd like some direction on that. And those that don't believe or aren't aware need to be shown this is what needs to change. In either case, you have to be very specific and constructive in what your idea is. Otherwise, it's really easy to go to who the messenger is or what is it that they want, and they don't know, so let's just pass on this. That's my primary issue with this is, Kyrie, if you're going to take a stand, Dwight Howard, if you're going to take a stand, and you're going to use the leverage of not playing in the NBA and having the NBA not exist, that's fine. Okay, you're going to the nth degree, that's fine. But know what it is that you're after and make it clear so that those who want to join you in the cause understand exactly what they're joining.
And we keep talking about the people, the messenger. So let's talk about LeBron James and his silent objection to this protest in terms of not going on with the NBA season and going into the bubble. I'm with LeBron James. I'm with the fact that LeBron James knows that he can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know that LeBron James is totally committed to trying to make change. And he's doing it in the greatest way possible. And it's crazy because so many people get caught up in the sizzle and not the substance of it. If another person walks up to me and says, Colin Kaepernick was right. Colin Kaepernick was right about what? Singing the same song louder that has not gotten us to close the gap in terms of what we truly desire. There are social scientists out there. I'm talking about in the 50s and 60s who predicted exactly this outcome. And they said fighting systemic racism is not enough. The fabric of any community is this family. Broken children will lead to a broken community. That's why I applaud LeBron James, because he's a family man, because he's taking care of his family. All of us are not going to do this together. It takes individuals, as we played sports. Do your job. But everyone right now is in some kind of quest to make sure that they're the ones that get credit and they're the ones that gets the attention. But this is an age-old problem. And every solution that I keep seeing, which is either coming from being woke or affirmative action, welfare dependency, you continue down the line all the protests and all the outrage you have. But until we fix our family unit and point at that, we're not giving ourselves the best opportunity to go out there and do something. I know these guys are well-intended, and I'm not taking shots at them. I'm just taking shots at the direction and the effort. I'm a guy who grew up 10 miles away from Fox Studios. But boy, was it a stark contrast. Welfare, 2 checks a month. Food stamps every month. 3 times a month, I was waiting for the government to give us our payday, to give us our opportunity. And I saw all around me all the ills that come from that community, the gangs, the drugs, the poverty. But I'm going to tell you the worst thing of all that almost got me. It was the low ambition that was getting sucked away from people who weren't living out their dreams. For people who didn't think that their dreams could be a reality. For people every single day that was walking around hoping for a job, not even thinking about a career. And I remember being that fork-in-the-road kid. And as Thomas Sowell said, because of your color of skin is not a birthmark that condemns you to a lower status in life. When stuff was harder for us, my dad is from Texas, the South, the 40s. My dad just shakes his head when he sees what we're doing right now, because when things were more difficult and overt, we complained less and worked harder. But now everybody's into, watch me try to change this. How about you put in applied, focused work and stop trying to always get the attention of being the one who solves this? There are so many smart people, so many people who have the proper credit that is doing the work, that is about the substance, not the sizzle. Hopefully these guys can bring this all together and we can truly see change going forward.